This is a deluxe version of my last video on the subject. I have 3 other videos on the subject. One is the original archive, one is an extended version, and the other one is the expanded version. What this video has in addition to the expanded version is a couple of clips of the arrest scene and some additional footage of what I believe is a trip to the hospital for Ryan Bundy. Also, you will notice a random trip to the gas station. What this video has in addition to the extended version is a photo from Live Leak as well as more HD footage from the ground. Please note, I am finding all the HD footage from ABC News and ABC local affiliates. It seems every single local affiliate I find has a couple of new scenes. This should tell everyone that ABC News network was embedded with the FBI and law enforcement. Why would I say such a thing? Because they clearly have all the footage and have cut it all up and fed it to the affiliates. In addition to the below, you will see another car behind the roadblock who was an eyewitness and took a snapshot. You will also see HD footage of heavily armed men. I searched until I found all the video that seems to be available. As far as I know, this contains the most footage anywhere on YouTube. ep107 had found a small clip of Ryan Payne's arrest, and it got me interested as to how much was actually out there. I found out some interesting information about when all of this footage was actually released by the media. Based on where I was able to pull these videos, they were all released the morning of January 27, 2016, prior to the FBI video. I was able to find a few more seconds of that same camera source ep107 found. I also found an additional source shot by the media with a cell phone. It is farther back, however they were traveling with Bundy in a separate car. Bet you didn't know there was another car trailing, huh? You can hear the reporter actually talk about his experience. He gets approached by a man with a military rifle and is told to get out of there. Go south.
There was a lot of smoke coming off of the Bundy vehicle, and the FBI was hollering at them. There was lots of shots being fired. There was lots of shooting going on, but I didn't see anybody get shot. I saw them shooting at each other, maybe 12, 15 seconds. Within that time, there was probably maybe as many as 5 or 6 shots put on. And I really couldn't tell who was shooting during most
exclusive video now from our photojournalist Dale Burkholz. He was on his way to cover that community meeting in John Day between militia leader Ammon Bundy and people who live there. And Dale described to me what happened.
There were at least 3 or 4 federal cars. It looked like federal agents. They were behind the cars, guns drawn, and it looked like, I couldn't tell, but it looked like whatever it was over. It just happened. And so I pulled over and took some video with my cell phone because I knew they'd be terrorists when I got out, obviously. The situation was still developing. And just got some video of that. And then as I did that, a car pulled up behind me, and he wasn't in any hurry. But then I saw him get out with a military-style rifle, and he came up, knocked on the window, and very abruptly told me to turn around, head south, which I immediately did.
Your guide to the truth. The new AmericanMedia.com.
These are the masked men of the shooting of Lavoy Finicum. 2, possibly 3 men, depending on if the trooper matches the man by the grenade launcher. The photo of the man with the grenade launcher was taken by a man who was traveling to pick up his daughter and was coming from the north traveling south. You can see he is north of the roadblock where the shooting took place. You will also notice that trying to clean up this photo is rather futile. Enjoy watching me trying to polish a turd. Have a nice day.
if you saw this, Danny and I, did you see it?
I did.
The explosive courtroom outburst that took place. And I'm going to go right to this right now. Okay. This is out of Aurora, Colorado, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, come on. Give me a freaking break. Gotta be kidding me. Oh, God. Sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that. Let me switch screens. My computer is just up, but that's okay. For you people out there like, you're so unprofessional. How come you have 10 people working for you? Send a fucking check, okay? I'll get as many people as you want. All right.
Don't
So,
miss the Wrangler PRCA Champions Challenge
oh,
Rodeo.
really?
Plus
You
Chase
think so?
Rice-
I'm so sorry about that. Let me switch screens. My computer is just up, but that's okay. For you people out there like, you're so unprofessional. How come you have 10 people working for you? Send a fucking check, okay? I'll get as many people as you want. All right.
Don't
So,
miss the Wrangler PRCA Champions Challenge
Oh,
Rodeo.
really?
Plus
You
Chase
think so?
Rice in concert. Get info and tickets
Hold
now
on a
at
second. Here it comes.
ColoradoStateFair.com.
He's wrong. Mental illness is everything. I'm the biological mother. She's a surrogate. They took it away from me. And they adopted because they know they have mental illness. My family's full of FBI.
yeah, I'm going to play this again. You ready? Listen to this.
No! Don't kill him! Don't kill him! He's wrong. Mental illness is everything. I'm the biological mother. She's a surrogate. They took it away from me. And they adopted because they know they have mental illness. My family's full of FBI. He's got violence in his blood. We need to know. Don't kill him. Don't kill him. It's not his fault.
Now, what's very interesting about that, okay?
Please be seated, everyone.
What is very, very interesting about that? This is at the trial of the Aurora, Colorado Batman shooter trial. I guess maybe in the penalty phase. Is that
James
correct?
Holmes, yes.
James Holmes. Okay. So basically, she shouts out, "Don't kill him!" The courtroom outburst got a woman kicked out during the shooting trial. Okay. And you just heard her voice, and you probably didn't understand it because I didn't understand it the first time I heard it. But somebody transcribed what she actually. Oh my God! Okay, autoplay, excellent. Thank you. This is what she said. He's wrong because mental illness is everything. I'm the biological mother. She's a surrogate. They took him away from me, and it says unintelligible because I know they had mental illness. Unintelligible. My family's full of FBI. He's got, and then it was unintelligible again. Women continue screaming, "Don't kill him! Don't kill him! It's not his fault." Now, you would normally, and I'm sure everyone is thinking, "Oh, she's just crazy," and they allowed some crazy chick to get in the room.
Right.
Why is the FBI thrown out there? Why is she saying that she's the mother of this guy? And why are we talking about the mental illness piece? And where did this woman go? We knew where this Batman shooter came from. Straight up MK Ultra.
Sure.
Just look in his eyes, right?
Yeah.
That guy was just all wound up to go do what he's going to do, especially when you see Barack Obama saying, "Let's take away everyone's guns."
Yeah.
Right afterwards. Right?
Yeah.
Can I add something real quick? I have
Yeah.
an update on this story.
Yes.
The woman that did the outburst today went in front of a judge. She was held in contempt, and she was sentenced to 3 weeks in jail.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. In contempt of court, huh?
And no doubt she'll get all kinds of psychological screening.
Oh, they'll have her on pharmaceuticals.
Sure they will.
Yeah, absolutely.
When she says, "My family's full of FBI," and then she says, "He's got," I listened to it pretty closely. She said, "He's got something," she says, "in his blood." Yeah, you can hear her say that. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting that she did that today.
Wouldn't you love to do a jailhouse interview with her?
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, she could probably come out and get a really good gig on the alternative media circus.
The most qualified person to speak
when
to
she gets
her
out.
is, guess who it is? Who
Who?
do you think the most qualified person is to speak to her?
Who?
Kenny from Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right?
We know at being an alternative media that this woman doesn't necessarily have to be crazy. She is, they said she was homeless, that she'd been in the courtroom for several days without any incident. And she just lost it, suddenly lost it. So
Yeah, because she probably knows the truth.
She just might.
Right?
There may be
Very
something to
interesting.
what she's saying. We're
security and the right thing for proper immigration. If you come in once that fence is done, or that whatever it is we put up to protect it, you're going back. No excuses. We're not going to continue this problem. Now, once it's done, if you want to have I believe in a guest worker program. You can come in and work, and you can go back home. Okay, that will be something that I think makes a lot of sense. For the 11.5 million who are here, if they have not committed a crime in the sense in which we all know I'm talking about, then they can stay. But they will never be citizens through that route. They can have a path to legalization, they'll pay back taxes, they'll pay a fine, and then they can live here in a legalized status, but never a path to citizenship. What do I think that's going to happen? That can pass. It can pass the common sense approach to the American people, and I think even Congress would vote on that, wouldn't they? Maybe you don't want to say today, okay? But I believe that they would, and we can get this issue behind us once and for all. So, I appreciate your question, sir. Good question. I like my answer better than what you imply there. Okay, yes, sir, right here with the Ohio State. You know, I got endorsed by every single person. Coach Tressel, Cooper, Urban Meyer. The only one I haven't had this election is Woody, okay? I would love to have Woody come back and give me an endorsement. It's not going to happen, though. Yes, sir.
That'd be really hearing from something with him. My question is dealing with lobbyists once you get there, because just a personal story. My wife and I were involved in a serious car accident. I had minimum state coverage. They also had minimum state coverage the person would fall. My wife is paralyzed from her breast down. So because our minimum state coverage and their minimum state coverage wasn't enough to basically pay for her hospital bills, we're basically banished to be on Social Security disability and Medicaid for the rest of our lives, probably, because I was also injured and unable to work. So I really believe that the lobbyists were the ones that set up that tiered insurance rate through Congress. Am I mistaken? But that's my question, is how are you going to deal with those lobbyists that control our Congress and our government by paying people off?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's, we hear this at a lot of things. People tell things that are hard for them. My parents were killed in a car accident. And his wife was paralyzed. In 1 minute, you think about life, right? This is why we need to change the world. 1 minute, everything is great. And the snap of a finger. Are you 16? How old are you, young lady? Oh, you're 22. You know what? You just can't text and drive. You can't talk. I mean, it's every mother and father's night. My kids are 16. And I can't wait till we get the autonomous car. But sir, let me tell you that when I became governor here, I had a meeting with all the lobbyists. They invited me to this lunch. And this became an infamous or a famous quote that got distorted by all of my dear friends in the media. And I told them a lot of changes were going to come in Ohio, a lot of changes, and that I needed them to work with me. And here's what I told them. Either you will get on my bus and ride with me to fix Ohio, or I will run over you with my bus. Okay? Now, sir, they have a job to do, okay? But I have a job to do. Now, when I come from McKees Rocks, you ever been to McKees Rocks? I'll take you over there sometime. And then you'll be able to answer the question about whether some lobbyist is going to tell me what to do. There's only one person that tells me what to do, and that's my wife, okay? That is it, okay? Same with you as well. Look, the reason why I was 30 years old, I went to Congress. I found the hammers and the screwdrivers and the wrenches that cost tens of thousands of dollars that the defense contractors were charging to the military. You remember that, Ralph? I made every single defense contractor in this country angry. Tough. I mean, what, I don't work for them. Let me tell you, we had this airplane called the B-2 bomber. Its job was to fly into the middle of the Soviet Union in the middle of a nuclear war, and I thought, and to drop more nuclear weapons. I thought, how many nuclear weapons do you have to drop in a day to, ruin somebody's life? So I thought we should limit the production of the plane. The Pentagon wanted 132. I wanted 13. Tom Ridge, the former head of Homeland Security, former governor of Pennsylvania, congressman, he helped me. John Sununu, former conservative United States senator from New Hampshire, he helped me. We had so many conservatives and, in fact, Democrats that got part of this coalition. Now, they built this plane, and every part of it was built in another state. And the windshield, or the tail wing over in Oklahoma. Think I made a lot of defense contractors happy? You know what the plane cost? $1 billion a piece. I finally made an agreement with the administration, which happened to be Republican. Instead of building 132, we built 20. And we took the savings and we built standoff weapons so the pilots didn't have to fly over the target. I don't raise a lot of money from defense contractors in the United States. Well, of course, when they look at the field now, they may have to take a second look, unfortunately for them. But the point of the story is, you look at a problem and you try to solve it. For the first time in our state, if you have a son or a daughter who's autistic, we are giving massive coverage to the mothers and fathers of kids who have autism. Why do you think I'm spending time trying to help the people who have the mental illness and the drug addictions? Do you think I get any votes from that? It's just the right thing to do. In my lifetime, in my career, and I'm going to call myself the most flawed man in this hangar, okay? Let me just make that clear. I fail every day at what I try to do. Fortunately, I get another chance tomorrow. I get a mulligan. But at the end of the day, it's my job to look into your eyes, and I got to fix the problems that we have. And sometimes I have to say no, because I'm the CEO and I got to decide what's best for the folks. I have to listen, but at the end, I got to make that decision. And I tell you something, when you lose your way on that, you're dead. Get out. Go get a job doing something. Go be a lobbyist, okay? Because you cannot be a good leader when you're worried about focus groups, polls, or who likes you. You know what Truman said? You want a friend in Washington? Buy a dog, okay? I hope that helps, sir. Yes, in the back, as you yelled. Yeah, okay, there's three things that I'm going to focus on when I go to Washington, and I went through my 100-day list, okay? But there's basically three things I'm going to focus on. The first one is jobs. The second one is jobs. Do you want to all yell what the third one is? That's right. So everything that we can do to release the power of job creation, of free enterprise, of the markets of America, because we're back to, if you can't get a job, nothing else works.
Okay, then what would be the first 5 things you'll do to...
Well, we're going to have common sense regulations, we're going to lower the taxes on individuals and businesses, and we're going to have a path to a balanced budget. Those three things right there, that's what works in Ohio, it's what worked in Washington when I was there. Though that is the formula for economic success. Why is it not working now? Because we're regulating everything that swims, walks, and flies. Number two, we're raising taxes on everybody. Everybody's taxes are going up. And number three, have you checked the budget yet? $19 trillion and rising. So if you're doing all the wrong things, it's like your doctor says, well, you need to do this, this, and this, and then you don't do any of it. You go back to the doctor, say, I'm not feeling any better. These are the things that will work for our country. And you have to know it, and you have to believe it deep in your soul, and you have to have a team around you that will not blink, okay? What do you think I'm doing this for? I already got public housing. I'll show it's down in Bexley, okay? I can live there if I want to. I'm doing this, young lady. How was that? I'm doing this, young lady, because this is why I'm doing this, because it's what I'm supposed to do, to help give people a chance. What a privilege. You know, people say, are you tired? Yeah, sometimes once in a while I get tired, but you know what? I'm having a ball. Because in the course of doing this, if you just hear the word about you're special and you can change the world around you, I'll pay you to let me say those things. Because it's improving this country. It's raising the bar. That's what it's all about for me, not some political game. I mean, are you kidding me? Thank you for your question. Yes, sir, right here.
The top three things to really fix health care.
Well, you know, sir, the great thing about being governor of a big state is that you can actually put things in motion that you can then take and develop nationally. The problem with Obamacare is there were three goals for it. One, control health care costs. Isn't happening. Two, make insurance more affordable. In Ohio, the average increase in insurance is up 80%. And three, I was at Lima Pallet. Every politician likes to talk about these little visits, you know, make it relevant to you. I was at Lima Pallet. Lady there, they make pallets, wooden pallets, and she has 49 employees. You know why she won't go to 50? Because then she gets caught in this web. So the small business people who want to grow are being held down. So wrong, wrong, and wrong. So what do we do? Well, first of all, the best thing about Obamacare is something that should have been done, and I don't know how it never got done before. Nobody should be unable to get health insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. No one should lose their house. No one should go broke because they get sick. Nobody should. So we will keep the philosophy and the program of making sure people can get health insurance. Secondly, I would ship some of the federal resources combined with freed up Medicaid programs, which I want the state to develop their solutions to make sure that the working poor keep health insurance. We cannot be in a position of where millions of Americans lose their health insurance. I would do that. But that's a transition. So let me see if I can explain this in a way that's simple. I like to use a chart, but I don't have one here. Here's the thing, sir. Have you ever gotten a hospital bill? Yes, it's easier to interpret the Dead Sea Scrolls than understand a hospital bill. We don't know what anything costs. We don't really know how our hospitals work. We don't know their infection rate, their readmission rate, their costs. We know nothing. We don't know how our doctors do. If I was to say, who has a good doctor? Everybody in this room would raise their hands. How do you know? Do you know what your doctor charges? Do you know what the result is out of he or she, the doctor, as to how they're doing? We don't know. So what we are doing is we are now working with everybody, the healthcare providers, the insurance companies, everybody, to try to get total transparency. How does a hospital do? What does it charge? What's its effectiveness? What's its readmission rate? What's its infection rate? What is its medical mistake rate? And we are checking with the providers, the doctors. What is your quality? What is your performance? What do you charge? And we're putting it on a big map. And what we say is for those people below the midpoint, see, some charge high, some charge low, the midpoint, between high and low, if you are delivering quality and your prices are lower below the midpoint, we will give you a financial reward. If you're a primary care doctor, keeps you healthy, sir, for a year, and the quality is below the midpoint, he or she will get a financial reward. We have developed this with organizations like the Cleveland Clinic. And I believe that system, which is a market-driven, market-rewarded system that brings transparency and gets us in the loop, will be able to put downward pressure on this healthcare system so we know what we're doing like we do in all other walks of life. And I believe we're going to start making payments next year. Whether I'm president or governor, it's going to happen. Because we believe this is the most significant reform we've seen in the country, and other people are beginning to pick up on it. We don't do this, we're going to end up with higher deductibles and ultimately with rationing. And you know who's going to get rationed? This guy back here. That's who. We're going to prevent that. We have a plan to do this, and we're going to promote it, we're going to push it, we're going to get it done, and it's going to fix the healthcare system. It's going to be a dramatic improvement of the healthcare system in our country. Thanks for asking the question. I got to go way in the back to that young man under the sign who's been, okay?
Hello. I have a lot of friends.
That's a good start. Thank you.
I have a lot of friends graduating college here soon. What would you do to make sure they have jobs when they leave school?
Well, I'm going to tell you a bunch of things. How old are you?
17.
How old?
17.
17. So you're going to go to college?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just have you think. Are your parents here?
No.
Okay. Too bad. Here's the thing. Where was I the other day? I can't remember exactly where I was, but I met with this community college president. I saw it in South Carolina, and this was in another state. You could go to the community college for 2 years. Do you know what it costs? Who said that? Give her a $6,000. $6,000 for 2 years. It was in Michigan. That's exactly where it was. It was in Michigan. Were you there? Oh, you were watching me on TV. Don't you have anything better to do with your life? I mean, what the heck? $6,000 for 2 years. You transfer all the credit to the 4-year school. I mean, can you imagine that? You can go, we're going to try to do 3 years. So it would cost you $9,000, and then you finish your last year at 20. Now, you know, I understand. I went to Ohio State. You know, I love being at Ohio State. I love the whole, I mean, I like the whole experience. I'm a normal guy. I like to study, but I really like to do other things, probably more than studying, and having a good time. Do you know how many spring trips I could have taken? If I would have said, just say somebody goes for 2 years at $6,000 and they save $50,000. Do you know how many trips you can take to the Bahamas for $50,000? So you think about that community college, young man. In addition to that, I hope you're taking college credit courses now that'll transfer to college. Are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, talk to your teachers about it, because you can get credit for college while you're still in high school. And we don't want you to go to college taking 11th grade math and English. You know, that's a big deal in our colleges. They have to be remediated. You know, they get A's and then they go to college. They can't test through the program. It's amazing. So we want to do online remediation so that when you go to college, you hit the ground running. The other thing that we really want to do, and when you go to college or the community college, when you walk in the door, somebody should be there to guide you through. We're going to do this in Ohio. I mean, we're beginning to do it. Here's the thing, Lorraine Community College, you go up there to school, you walk in the door, and they say to you, what do you want to be? Let me show you all the jobs that are available in Ohio. Let me show you what they pay, and let me show you what it takes to get one. So instead of going to school and wandering around trying to figure out what you want to do, we connect you with the real world. We're also beginning to do that in K through 12. So in the early grades, we tell you, and they better all be doing this. It's tough to get everybody moving in the same direction, but we're doing it. When you're in the first grade, second grade, third, what's a weatherman do? What's a teacher do? What's a fireman do? What's a policeman do? And as we get older, we want to ramp up the sophistication. And we have this thing called Ohio Means Jobs, where you can build a backpack. And it can tell you what you want to be, what it pays, what it takes to get there. You see, we have to, in the 21st century, we have to connect education with the real world. When, sir, when you and I went to school, you could kind of goof off, graduate, and get a job in the steel mill. Those jobs aren't around anymore much. So now you have to get skills. And that's why we started vocational education in the 7th grade, by the way, so people could go in that direction as well and still be qualified to go to college. But we have to connect people. I'll give you another example. Let's say that you're good in math. You know how many jobs are connected to math? You know how much math is involved in airplanes? Do you know how great it would be to take a kid who's good in math that might have some interest in flying, to put him out here at this FBO for 3 or 4 hours a week learning about what goes on? Well, you're already doing it. Well, you're looking at me like, how old are you guys? And you, young lady? And so you're learning a little bit out here about what it means, about why math matters, huh? So it's real to you. It's exactly how we have to make education, so that it is real. I tell you a funny story. In South Carolina, I was out on this boat, and it made me go out in the harbor. Okay, I'm out in the harbor in these big ocean liners, and they got these enormous cranes, and they come down, flow around like this, and they bring this big hook down, and they latch on to the container, and they pick it up, and they move it. So I said to the guy, "What's that job pay?" He said, "About $100,000 a year." He said, "Well, who does it? Who gets it?" He said, "It's no different than a video game." Do you know these kids that want to play video games? Connect them to the 21st century jobs. That's what we should do. But that's up to you. You see, as president, I'm going to ship 104 federal job programs back in 4 buckets and let you run your schools. You don't want the president or a bunch of people in Washington running your schools. You run your schools and make them real. Okay? Sir, I have to tell you, we actually have lobbyists in here of a sort. This lady is trying to get me to go and ask this woman a question. See, yes, go ahead. Who's with you there? Who is that? My mother. All right, Mom. Mom, are you voting for me? Okay, good. This is the last one, and then Mitt and I have to get on the bus, and we're off to another place. We're actually going to go to Columbus for a few hours, and I'm going to see my family, huh? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for making North Canton one of your stops today.
Is there a guy from North Canton that's still around by the name of Dave Johnson? He was a state senator. Is he still around? I want to tell you something, and we'll get to your question. I was a young intern working in the state Senate, and Senator Johnson wrote a letter to the Senate president saying that my friend and I were doing a good job, and we took that letter and we carried it around for a week. I've come a long way, haven't I? Tell Dave I said hi, I'm running for president, okay? So go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, so you just talked about local control. I have been a member of a school board for over a decade, and I don't always feel local control. We have many unfunded mandates. We lose money to charter schools who do not have the same accountability and have a diluted curriculum, and No Child Left Behind seems to leave a lot of kids behind.
Okay, let me give you an answer to that. First of all, our charter schools have the highest standards they've ever had in the history of our state. And the reason why we have charter schools is because we want to offer a little bit of competition. If you have just one pizza shop in your town, you don't get much pepperoni. You have 2 or 3 and you get all the pepperoni you can stand. We want competition. But I don't believe that the public school will ever go away. We've increased public funding of education to the highest level it's ever been in this state. And when it comes to the unfunded mandates, I want to tell you, you send me a list and we'll get rid of them. Because everything I hear is we want to get rid of the unfunded mandates. I send me a list. You know what I never get? I never get a list, okay? So you send it to me. Now, one of the things that imposes a lot of costs on public education is special education. And when we send these 4 buckets back to the states, one of the buckets will be special education, because it's important. And I know it's a challenge for the public school system. Look, I believe at the end, you as the school board You're the ones that got to make the decisions. We have responded to your concerns about, testing. We've reduced the number of tests. Teachers are concerned about the tests. We're going to constantly look at this. But the most important thing is to have high standards. And when it comes to judging teachers, it's got to be a fair process. We can't have something where you know somebody and somebody gets... And I also think if I could figure out a way that I think the teachers are the most underpaid group of people in our society. They just don't make enough money, and we have to reward them any way you can do it. But we need accountability, we need high standards, and we need you to be in charge. You get me a list. Who's here that can go out there? We're going to give you a place to send it, and then I will call you. And we'll go over your list of unfunded mandates, and I'm looking forward to a big fat list because, as far as I'm concerned, let you operate, let you do your job. Folks, here's the thing. They tell me tomorrow's a big election. If you have not enjoyed me today, don't tell anybody, okay? But you know what? I need your vote because I want, Mitt said it, I want to send a message to the country. Ohio should send a message to the country. Everybody's watching us now. Do you know that? And they're not just watching us in the country, they're watching us in the world. And when I win Ohio and continue to take this program forward, it is going to send such a positive message to the world. Don't doubt America, it's coming back. I need your vote, and I hope I can count on it. Thank you all very much. God bless.
And now we're going to head into some earlier footage that we recorded for you today. I'm going to take you to Bernie Sanders in Youngstown, Ohio. I think. Double click. There we go. Here we go.
Youngstown, thank you. Let me begin by thanking Al Nixon, Bob Sutton, Jen Cancio, Alex Adams, and how do you follow Senator Nina Turner? That's a hard thing to do. And I want to thank Senator Turner not only for her support and active participation in this campaign, but for the work that she has done for social justice, for racial justice, for economic justice, year after year here in Ohio. Brothers and sisters, we began this campaign 10 months ago, and when we began it, we were 3% in the polls. We were 60, 70 points down. A lot has happened in the last 10 months. In the last 10 months, we have won 9 states. 8 of them with double-digit victories. And nobody expected us to have won Michigan last week. Guess what? We won. And a few weeks ago, people were saying, Bernie Sanders winning Ohio. No way. Well, guess what? We have a good vote tomorrow. People come out. We're going to win here in Ohio. What this campaign is about is not just about electing a president. It is about transforming our country. And in order to transform our country, I will tell you something that no other candidate for president will tell you. And that is no president, not Bernie Sanders, not anybody else, can do it alone. For us to take on, and I got to tell you, what this campaign is also about is doing something very radical. It's telling the American people the truth. That's a pretty radical act. And what is the truth? What is the truth? The truth is that given the enormous power of Wall Street, and they have endless supplies of money, corporate America, who would shut down a plant in Ohio and move to China if they could make an additional $5, corporate media that talks about everything except what's most important to the working people of this country, wealthy campaign contributors, brothers and sisters, they have enormous power. No president can do it alone, and that is why we need a political revolution. We need millions of people to stand up. So this is not about enormous power. No president can do it alone, and that is why we need a political revolution. We need millions of people to stand up. So this is not about me, it is about us. It is about the people of this country saying enough is enough. Our government belongs to all of us, not just a handful of wealthy campaign contributors. Now, let me just talk about some truths. They're unpleasant truths. But it is important to discuss the reality of America, because if we don't lay the real issues and reality on the table, it is impossible to go forward. You can't go forward if you don't know where you are today. Where we are today is politically, we have a corrupt campaign finance system which is undermining American democracy. Sorry to have to tell you that, but that's the truth. And what that truth means is that what you believe, what I believe, is that democracy is about one person, one vote. You want to vote for me, great. You want to vote against me, that's okay. But you get one vote. What democracy is not about billionaires buying elections. That's not democracy. That is oligarchy. And this country is not going to become an oligarchy if we have anything to say about it. Secondly, it's not only a corrupt campaign finance system, it is a rigged economy. And what a rigged economy means is that the average American today is working longer hours for lower wages, while almost all new income and wealth is going to the top 1%. That's a rigged economy. A rigged economy is when the top 1/10 of 1%, not 1%, 1/10 of 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. A rigged economy is when the 20 wealthiest people in this country own more wealth than the bottom half of America, 150 million Americans. A A rigged economy is when one family, the Walton family of Walmart, one family owns more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people. A rigged economy is about when the Walton family, who owns Walmart, pays their workers wages that are so low that many of their workers have to go on Medicaid, food stamps, and subsidized housing. And you are the people, we are the people who pay for that Medicaid, food stamps, and subsidized housing. Well, it seems pretty stupid to me that the middle class has got to subsidize the wealthiest family in this country. So I say to the Walton family, get off of welfare, pay your workers a living wage. And here is another truth. And here is another truth that is profound and tragic. All over this country, here in Ohio, here in my state of Vermont, we got folks, working people, they're not working one job, they're working two jobs, they're working three jobs, trying to cobble together. Am I right? Three jobs. Three jobs. Trying to cobble together income and some health care. Now I want you all to think about this, because this campaign is also asking the American people to think outside of the box, outside of the status quo. Today, all of you know, we have seen an explosion of technology. Every worker is much more productive than that worker was 20, 30 years ago. Why is it that with all of that increased productivity, people work longer hours and make lower wages? Why is it that mom has got to go to work, dad goes to work, the kids go to work, and at the end of all of that, 58% of all new income goes to the top 1%. Now, I'll tell you something that the young people here probably won't believe, but I'll tell it to you anyhow because it's true. All right. 40 years ago, we had an economy where in many cases, one person, in those days the man, would go to work 40 hours a week, and earn enough money to take care of the whole family. One worker. Today, you got mom and dad working and they're not making enough money together to take care of the family. That is not the economy we need for this country. But it's not only a corrupt campaign finance system that we have. It's not only a rigged economy where the very rich get richer and everybody else gets poorer. It is a broken criminal justice system. Brothers and sisters, this great country should not have more people in jail than any other country on earth. And if anybody thinks the number of people we have in jail, 2.2 million people, is unrelated to the fact that in America today, in terms of youth unemployment, white kids, 17 to 20, high school graduates, 33% unemployed, underemployed. Latino kids, 36%, African American kids, 51% unemployed, underemployed. Here is another radical idea. We're going to invest in our kids, in education and jobs. We're going to make sure our kids are working or they're in school. They're not going to end up in jail. I am tired of seeing young people's lives destroyed. We are going to give them an opportunity. Now, I want to say a few words about some of the differences between Secretary Clinton and myself, because they're pretty profound. Number one, you could tell a lot about a candidate in terms of how he or she raises money, raises their campaign funds. Everybody knows, sadly but truthfully, it takes a lot of money, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to run for president of the United States. Well, we have to make a choice. And the choice we have to make is, are we going to do what every other candidate does? Establish a super PAC and go out and beg billionaires and Wall Street and corporate America for campaign funds. Well, we thought about it. We thought about it for 1/10 of 1 second. And we concluded, no, our campaign is not going to have a super PAC. We don't represent the billionaires. We don't want their money, and we're going to do it another way. And the way we did it is unprecedented. We went out to working families and we said, look, if you want real change in this country, if you want a candidate who is going to stand up to the billionaire class and tell them they can't have it all, we need your help. We know you don't have a lot of money. Help us the way you can. You know what's happened in the last 10 months? We have received over 5 million campaign contributions. More than any candidate in the history of this country at this point in a campaign. And you know what the average campaign contribution is? $27. Now that is, if I must say so myself, pretty damn good. So to paraphrase Abraham Lincoln at Gettysburg, this is a campaign of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, Secretary Clinton has chosen another path to raise her campaign funds. She has established several super PACs, and recently her major super PAC reported that they raised $25 million from special interests, $15 million from Wall Street itself. And in addition to that, as many of you know, the Secretary had previously given speeches behind closed doors to major Wall Street companies like Goldman Sachs, where she got paid $225,000 per speech. And she gave a lot of speeches. Now, here's what I think. If you get paid $225,000 for a speech, it must be an extraordinary speech. It must be mind-blowing. It must be Shakespearean. It must be revealing unlocked sources of knowledge. And I think that if the speech is that great, it should be released to the American people. That's awesome. Now, Hillary Clinton says, okay, I will release my transcripts if other candidates release theirs. So I have a dramatic announcement to make right here in Youngstown, Ohio. Are you all ready for this dramatic announcement? I am prepared here and now to release all of my transcripts for the speeches I gave on Wall Street. Here they are! Shh. No transcripts, no speeches. I just wonder why, I don't know, why Wall Street hasn't invited me and offered me $225,000 to make a speech. I just don't know why, but I'll tell you this. If tomorrow my friends on Wall Street want to invite me, I don't need their money, but I will go, and this is what I will tell them. I will tell them that their greed and their recklessness and their illegal behavior brought this country into the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. I will tell them that their illegal behavior cost millions of Americans their jobs, their homes, and their life savings. And I will tell them, you know, many of these banks, Goldman Sachs and many of the other major ones, Goldman Sachs alone, about a month ago, reached a settlement with the United States government for $5 billion. Do you know that? $5 billion. You know why they reached that settlement? Because they were selling worthless packages of subprime mortgages. Okay? So they reached a settlement for $5 billion. And this is my message.
Hi, I have
to Wall
breaking
Street.
news. Breaking news. There is a report. WLD, there is a report of an officer being shot in Chicago. Again, officer shot in Chicago. I'm going to get more information for you now, but we are very concerned as we have live aerials from Chicago of an officer-involved shooting.
Okay, I'm going to stay with this. Shopper 2 to news desk. Chopper 2 to news desk. Copy.
All right, so what we have is 3 Chicago cops shot in North Lawndale. A horrible situation that initially what we were seeing was 2 cops shot about half an hour ago, but what we know now is that it's 3. You know, I feel, let's see here. It's gonna take me a second to get up this lower third. I feel like it's gonna take us a little bit of time to get you the whole story. Hopefully we have a press conference soon from the police department and they'll give us a better idea of what took place, but we're currently looking at aerials out of Chicago where there have been 3 Chicago officers shot in North Lawndale. And I'm going to continue. I'm currently looking at Fox 32 News' Twitter feed. The last tweet was 20 minutes ago in regards to the shooting. I'm going to hopefully get you some additional details, but a pretty scary situation we have out of Chicago right now.
Yeah. I think so, yeah. They said all of them were non-life threatening. Copy. All right, we're going to go back to the scene. What is the Ike like? Okay. So all lanes on the Eisenhower are open. Everything is back to normal as far as traffic for the inbound Ike. Alright.
All right, three Chicago police officers shot Monday night and sustained injuries that were non-life threatening, according to a police spokesperson. Chicago Police Department spokesperson, let me actually find this tweet, tweeted that the officers were taken to the hospital Monday night. The circumstances of the shooting not immediately clear, provided no further details and couldn't immediately be reached by the Associated Press. Larry Merritt, a spokesman for the Independent Police Review Authority, told the Chicago Sun-Times the officers were shot in the eastern Garfield Park neighborhood on the city's west side. Let me find this for you. Twitter. Yeah, initially we were seeing reports of just 2 officers shot. Unfortunately, that number is now 3. Fortunately, non-life-threatening injuries. trying to find some updated tweets or some alternative tweets, but not seeing a lot of additional information. Daily Mail has the AP posting that I will read to you again. 3 Chicago police officers shot Monday night and sustained injuries that are not life-threatening. So that is what we are currently seeing. I'm not getting a lot of information out of Chicago, but we are getting this live video as well as this tweet that I'm sharing with you. Let's see here. Let's see if I can. I'm trying to use Twitter. I'm trying to use anything to get some additional quotes, some additional photos. One person tweets, 3 Chicago police officers have been shot and The Bachelor is trending. Seems a little disappointed in society. We are thankful for the fact that the officers have non-life-threatening injuries. So thankful. And prayers and thoughts to their families and themselves. Let's see if we can find any additional information. A lot of the same regurgitated information I'm seeing on Twitter. I type in to the search engine officers shot Chicago and a lot of the same information popping up. Minutes ago that the Chicago police tweeted this. Let me show you this tweet right here. Can you read all that this way? The Chicago Police Department had 2, possibly 3 officers shot in the 11th district. At this time, officers are okay. So we're saying that via the Chicago Police Department that at this time, officers are okay. And that was posted 10 minutes ago from the Chicago Police Department. So what I'm looking for right now is I'm trying to find the circumstances surrounding this event, obviously, and I'm having a hard time finding any of that online at this time. Perhaps it's too soon. Yeah, the last post by Fox 32 was 37 minutes ago in regards to the shooting. Let me see if they've updated the site. I'm going to read this to you via Fox 32 Chicago. 3 Chicago police officers were shot Monday night in the 3700 block of West Polk in the East Garfield Park neighborhood. Police spokesman said none of the officers had life-threatening injuries. Circumstances surrounding the shooting were unclear late Monday night. A woman who lives on the same block where the shootings occurred said she was watching TV when she heard about 15 gunshots. The woman who didn't want her name used said she dropped to the floor and turned off the lights when she heard the gunfire. A short while later, she heard wailing sirens. It was a sea of blue lights, she said. She said she saw 3 ambulances leave the scene. The woman said that while gunshots aren't uncommon in the neighborhood, it had been fairly quiet in recent months. So that's a very, very upsetting eyewitness account or ear witness account of the shooting from this woman that lives in the neighborhood that did not want to be identified, that she dropped to the floor and turned all the lights off. And again, that was via fox32chicago.com. See, there's a new tweet here. Oh, not associated. Not associated with that. Okay, I'm gonna see. It doesn't look like the Chicago police have tweeted anything new. Oh, and it looks like I lost my feed. That's unfortunate. We've got about 10 minutes left in the show, though, so what I am going to do is I'm going to give you some of our local news from this afternoon. Typically, we give you some of the highlights from our afternoon shows towards the end of the evening. So that's what I'm going to do for you today. Let's see here. So if you can give me 2 seconds to make sure that I fit this, the videos fit the screen, and let's jump into some of our television news broadcast. This is Troy Hayden talking about some upcoming election activities that are going to be happening here in the Valley. Oops, don't want to do that. I'm going to take you there now.
News with the Arizona primary just over a week away, our presidential preference election. Candidates are starting to focus on our state. Donald Trump may hold a rally here in Arizona on Saturday, and Bernie Sanders will be here in the Valley tomorrow. His event starts at 1 at the Phoenix Convention Center. His visit will be the second high-profile event the Sanders campaign has held in Phoenix this week. Today, his wife met with local immigration activists to discuss the situation at the border. Jessica Flores got to speak with Jane Sanders one-on-one, and she joins us live now with more. What do you have to say, Jess?
Hey, Troy. Well, first off, Jane Sanders is making more of a role in her husband's campaign. She's going one-on-one, talking to voters, talking to reporters. Usually you would see her at the side of her husband, but now she's on the campaign trail alone. And she spoke to those immigration rights activists, and she's also expected to come by here, Tent City, and check out conditions. We haven't seen her just yet, but she is supposed to swing by. But what they want is they want to gain more of the Latino vote. The Latinos make up about 22% of all eligible voters in Arizona. Jane Sanders stepping out alone, speaking about her husband's bid for the White House. In Arizona, the Bernie Sanders campaign is focused on the Latino vote.
It's a large Latino population, and we feel that we've done a lot of outreach across the nation, and they're getting to know him a little bit. So that's been the difficulty.
The Clinton campaign has criticized Senator Sanders for not supporting a 2007 immigration bill. Ms. Sanders says her husband will fight for comprehensive immigration reform.
We're concerned about deportations, and we would halt them immediately. And I know Bernie and the Secretary differed in terms of the refugees coming in from Honduras, the young children, and Hillary basically said, send them back. We need to send a message. And Bernie said, bring them in, protect them.
Ms. Sanders says her husband's free public university plan would apply to undocumented students. She also discussed her views on Donald Trump.
With leadership like Donald Trump, the answer is to blame somebody else. Bernie offers a positive vision and a solution-oriented approach that doesn't blame others. It's not the Latinos' fault. It's not the Muslims' fault. It's not the Mexicans' fault. It's the fact that we need to reprioritize how we address the issues facing America.
What kind of first lady would you be?
I think similar to Eleanor Roosevelt, she went out and talked to the people. Then what I would do and what she did is have their voices resonate through me, hopefully.
And Donald Trump has blamed Sanders supporters for what happened in Chicago during a Chicago rally, which forced the rally to be canceled. But Sanders today tells me that her husband's campaign does not support protesters disrupting candidates during their speeches. Reporting live, I'm Jessica Flores, Fox 10 News.
Fox 10 News is back.
It took over $327 million in nearly 3 years, but phase 1 of the Northwest Phoenix Light Rail extension is complete, and it will open to the public on Saturday. The light rail used to end at 19th Avenue and Montebello. This is where it used to end, and now, as you can see here, it's heading up north. There we go, up to Dunlap now. So this is the new extension, about a 3-mile extension. There are 3 more stations that the train goes all the way to Dunlap and 19th Avenue. So there's 3 stops in between here and here. And that is where we find Steve Kraft. He joins us live tonight. Steve.
Well, guys, let's take a look. This is one of those stations that you were talking about. They're still doing a little bit of work on the ticket machines. You can see right there. I got a sneak peek at the light rail extension, riding it today. This station at 19th Avenue in Dunlap. Of course, 2 more at 19th Avenue in Northern and 19th Avenue in Glendale. Valley Metro estimates 5,000 people will ride it every day, and it opens for business Saturday morning.
Gliding up 19th Avenue for just over 3 miles, the light rail extension is going to make life a lot easier for a lot of people.
This will open up their ability to get all over the city. You don't have to have a car. And this is an area where there's still a lot of poverty, and a lot of families don't have cars.
An easy commute, safe, and I don't have to worry about traffic times or anything. I can just hop on and go.
Now you can take
my daughter to school, to the mall. I'm happy. I'm excited.
Both Guadalupe and Christina have 9-year-old daughters at Richard E. Miller Elementary School, who contributed art to the new light rail station at Dunlap and 19th Avenue. Avril Loya's is called School in the Jungle.
What I had in mind was to just make the school fun, but still keep learning at school.
And 9-year-old Laura Page's airplane is called My School Flies. Back on the train, she told us the light rail extension gives her a new sense of freedom.
I think it's cool because now we don't have to wait for my dad to come home, because my dad gets home at 7:30, and we can go take this to go to we can take the light rail to go to the Diamondbacks games.
You got to admit it, this is a great improvement. There's also a 415-space park and ride lot right here at 19th Avenue and Dunlap. Valley Metro plans to extend the light rail to Metro Center by 2023, and there are plans to have light rail service going by Grand Canyon University and ASU West by 2026. Reporting live, Steve Kraft, Fox 10 News.
Fox for the first time in years, things are heating up when it comes to the race for president here in Arizona.
Our state is in play, and it's going to be important to the primary process. Democratic hopeful Bernie Sanders is heading here tomorrow, and Republican frontrunner Donald Trump might be here this weekend.
It is all ahead, of course, of Arizona's presidential preference election, which is next Tuesday. And Fox 10's Linda Williams is live with why Arizona matters once again. Linda.
Carrie, you really have to ask what is going on here. Arizona presidential preferential elections usually don't get this much attention from the candidates, right? Things are often sewn up in both parties by this time in the political calendar. But this, as I'm sure you've noticed, in 2016 is different. All bets are off. Small and low-key. Donald Trump's campaign headquarters in East Mesa don't garner much attention, much like Arizona's presidential preference elections next week. Because they are late in the political calendar, not much attention until this year.
As it turns out, Arizona is a relevant player in both the Republican and the Democratic primaries. And so anyone that wants the vote in Arizona ought to come here and ask for it.
Local political consultant Stan Barnes says Arizona's 58 Republican delegates and 85 Democratic delegates are relevant for the first time since Arizona started doing presidential primaries way back in 1996.
And it really hasn't mattered on the national scene, except this time. This time it matters.
Trump supporter Sheriff Joe Arpaio says he doesn't know if we'll see Republican frontrunner Donald Trump for a third visit in Arizona, but he says if he does, he will be there to support him. The sheriff says he doesn't expect violence at Trump rallies in Arizona.
I don't have any concern. Don't forget the sheriff has mandated duties to take care of any riot, insurrection, so you do know that I'll be looking over too.
Arpaio says he thinks Trump will do very well with Arizona voters.
He has a lot of support here. I stick by him regardless of all the negative, petty remarks against him because he may be outspoken.
Some interesting numbers on the early ballots in Arizona's presidential preference election. And these are coming from Maricopa County. And the mailed out ones, over 843,000 ballots. As of today, Republican voters have returned 215,241 ballots. Look at the Democrats. They've returned 162,624 ballots. The Green Party has returned 222 ballots. Now, the elections office telling me that if you haven't mailed in your early ballots for the presidential preference by now, get it done by Wednesday. As for Mr. Trump's visit, conventional wisdom is we're not going to know for sure if he's coming to the Valley until Wednesday, because then we'll know what happens during tomorrow's Super Tuesday elections for him, and that will definitely weigh in whether we see Mr. Trump in the Valley this Saturday. And of course, it's all the big picture, the big national picture that will weigh in on that decision. We'll let you know. I'm Linda Williams, Fox 10 News.
All right, and it is 9 o'clock, so typically I would wrap up, but I do want to see this update to the I-10 shooting story. I think this story is absolutely fascinating. We covered it here live for you on Fox 10 News Now, and I am interested in this update, so let's take a look at that story.
Freeway shooter sits in jail awaiting his trial right now. His attorneys fight back, suing our state and also Governor Doug Ducey.
Yeah, they plan to seek $10 million in damages for their client, who they say is wrongfully accused. Fox 10's Andrew Hasman joins us. It's not every day you see a criminal suspect going after the governor.
No, you sure don't, Carrie. Leslie Merritt's been charged in 4 of the shootings that terrorized Valley drivers last summer. His attorneys have a certain time frame to file a civil lawsuit like this one. They are trying to get the criminal charges against Merritt thrown out, and if they are successful, then this civil lawsuit may have a chance. Leslie Merritt has pleaded not guilty to the freeway shootings, and his attorneys claim that investigators have not shown any evidence proving he was at the scene of the shootings. In the notice of claim filed late last week, attorneys say they will be seeking $10 million and that investigators, in a rush to judgment, suppressed and ignored evidence. They also take issue with this tweet from Governor Doug Ducey, where the governor pronounced, "We got him," moments after the arrest. Attorneys list defamation as one of the possible claims.
If Leslie Merritt is actually convicted, then that will become moot because the governor was right.
Attorney Scott Halverson has experience suing law enforcement agencies. He says cases like this can be tricky, but if the charges against Merritt don't stick?
If this case washes out and they're not able to prove that he did this, or at least make a credible run at proving it at a trial, then I think this claim becomes much more viable.
In response, the governor's office says this claim is a routine filing that will be handled in due course. The underlying case is currently in the hands of the judicial branch, where we are confident the shooting suspect will receive a fair trial based on all the evidence. And the lawsuit names the state, Maricopa County, Governor Doug Ducey, and County Attorney Bill Montgomery. Attorneys plan to seek $2.5 million from each of them. I'm Andrew Hasbun, Fox 10 News.
All right, so that's going to be a wrap on Fox 10 News Now, where Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. We'll be back bright and early tomorrow at 9 a.m. And we are looking forward to Bernie Sanders. He's going to be in the Valley tomorrow, so we'll have live coverage of Bernie Sanders for you right here in Phoenix, Arizona. Thanks so much for tuning in. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook or Fox 10 News Now, and we will see you again tomorrow.
let's just hit this story quickly, which is the combined wealth, this is according to Oxfam, of the world's 85 richest people is equal to the 3.5 billion poorest people.
It's fantastic. And this is a great thing because it inspires everybody, gets the motivation to look up to the 1% and say, I want to become one of those people. I'm going to fight hard to get up to the top. This is fantastic news, and of course I applaud it. What can be wrong with this?
Really?
Yes, really.
So somebody living on
I celebrate capitalism.
$1 a day in Africa is getting up in the morning and saying, I'm going to be Bill Gates.
That's the motivation everybody needs.
Only thing between me and
I'm
that
not
guy
against
is
charity.
motivation. I just need to pull up my socks. I don't have socks.
Look, don't tell me that you want to redistribute wealth again. That's never going to happen. Okay?
You know what? You take a simple stat like this, which is neither good nor bad. It's just a fact.
It's a celebratory stat. I'm very excited about it. I'm wonderful to see it happen. I tell kids every day, what's wrong with this?
Comes up at a cocktail party.
No, Amanda, what's wrong with this statement?
One possible response
if you work hard, you might be stinking rich.
We're talking about people in extreme abject poverty. That's how you get 3.5 billion.
No, we're not. You were just talking about really rich people.
We are anonymous, and we have a solution. We represent 99% of the Earth's human population. When the actual number of the other 1% is considered, those who we do not represent, but who control almost every aspect of our lives, their number is more than 70 million. We represent every other human upon Earth. We, despite being the overwhelming majority, have no power over our own lives. We do not have equality in life. We do not have equal liberty. We do not have equal means and opportunities afforded to us to pursue our individual happiness. We are not socialists or capitalists, yet we support the right of every human who has been born on this earth, by no choice of their own, to have their basic necessities provided free of charge throughout their life. We are not religious, yet we support the right to believe, as long as the belief of one does not negatively affect the belief of another. We are not rich, yet we support the right to pursue wealth, as long as the pursuit of economic security is afforded equally to all, regardless of class, opportunity, or natural selection where the strongest survive. We are the weak. We are the downtrodden. We are the meek of the earth. We do not feel that we have a voice in our government, not because we do not choose to voice our desires, but because our government only offers us choices that it has appointed for us. Our choice for government officials has always been from the pool of the 1%. America's two-party political system has corrupted democracy and limited our ability to choose candidates who actually represent our needs and wants. We want change, real change. For hundreds of years, we've heard the same political rhetoric during every campaign. We are now more educated and informed than at any other time in Earth's history. We know what we want. We want our voices to be heard. We want the majority to rule and have power in government, as a true democracy demands. Real change can only be accomplished if the majority creates and offers its own solutions. Solutions that perhaps the 1% status quo has never heard nor considered. In the past, our complaints, our protests, our movements, our demand for change have been without viable solutions. They have produced nothing but fear, division, hate, and more prejudice. The more we push against them, the more they push against us. What we desire cannot be accomplished by one person. It cannot be done by protest, nor movement, nor organization. It must be done by using and complying with what has been established among us, the law of the land, democracy, the voice of the majority. We must be unified. We must remain undivided. We must remain equal. We must have courage. And to protect each of us as we stand against the power of the 1%, we must remain anonymous. We have established a new political party called the Humanity Party. Our party's platform offers the solutions to our current problems, beginning with the introduction of a new constitution. Governments operate from constitutions. A constitution is a body of fundamental principles and established standards according to which a united group of people is to be governed. But the people, as a majority, must agree on the principles and standards by which they are governed. 200 years passed in American history before a group of people first met together and considered writing a different constitution for and by the people. In 1787, a convention convened to write a constitution, not by the will and for the sake of the 99%, but by the will and for the sake of the 1%. By 1987, the world had changed drastically. Politicians, lawyers, and judges had interpreted the original Constitution and established laws that supported the desires and needs of the 1%, disenfranchising the majority. For example, a law was established that gave a money entity, a corporation, many of the same rights afforded to a person. This was an act that benefited the 1% and negatively affected the majority. This act was, however, legal and lawful because the original Constitution gave this legislative power and authority to Congress, lawyers, and judges. The original Constitution provided the legal authority to establish inhumane laws. Because representatives of the 1% were those who wrote the original Constitution, it contained many inhumane laws that eventually needed to be overturned by amendment. Amendments can alter a constitution. But if the Constitution in and of itself is a flawed tapestry from the beginning, then any alteration will only weaken the original strength of the cloth from which it was made. The Constitution must be completely revised and rewritten to reflect the true purpose for which it exists, to provide a body of fundamental and established standards according to the needs and wants of the majority of people. The current Constitution states, Article 5, Amendment, quote, "The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or, on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which, in either case, shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution, when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress," unquote. Again, the original cloth by which the tapestry that makes up the current Constitution was flawed. One of these glaring flaws is the ill-proportional representation of the people and the power that just one state might possess in governing the majority, even though that one state might have very few people living in it. An example of one of these many flaws is that the current state of California, which did not nor was ever accounted for in the current original Constitution, has almost 40 million people, but only 2 senators who represent their interests. The people of California might hold more liberal beliefs, desires, needs, and wants than 13 other Western states. But the population of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and North Dakota together do not equal as many people as those who live in California. Yet these 13 conservative states have 26 senators. The will of California's 2 liberal senators who represent the majority will never pass a law to which the more conservative 26 senators who represent the minority do not agree. The United States has never been united. Every social conflict that America has ever experienced began because one state disagreed with another. The Civil War, in which more Americans died than in all other wars combined, was caused by arguments between states. State representatives are the cause of bipartisan gridlock in Congress. States have caused and will continue to cause many social problems and conflicts unless they are stripped of their power and authority. The American people must become, finally, one nation, indivisible. This cannot be done unless a new constitution is adopted and ratified and becomes the law of the land. A constitution that was written in 1787 can hardly represent the interests of people living 200 years in the future. It was one of the founding fathers of America's first Constitution, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote, quote, "Every constitution, then, and every law naturally expires at the end of 19 years. If it be enforced longer, it is an act of force and not of right. It may be said that the succeeding generation exercising, in fact, the power of repeal, that this leaves them as free as if the Constitution or law had been expressly limited to 19 years only. In the first place, this objection admits the right in proposing an equivalent. But the power of repeal is not an equivalent. It might be, indeed, if every form of government were so perfectly contrived that the will of the majority could always be obtained fairly and without impediment. But this is true of no form. The people cannot assemble themselves. Their representation is unequal and vicious. Various checks are opposed to every legislative proposition. Factions get possession of the public councils. Bribery corrupts them. Personal interests lead them astray from the general interests of their constituents. And other impediments arise so as to prove to every practical man that a law of limited duration is much more manageable than one which needs a repeal." Unquote. We have written a new constitution for the people and by the people. It is based on the old one and incorporates those parts that have worked for the majority of the people. The changes will disempower the current representatives in government in their ability to make laws that do not benefit all people equally. The new Constitution will provide the people's representatives with a blueprint from which new laws can be established that represent the real needs and wants of the majority. States will no longer have power to cause the problems and divisions that they have caused in the past. We, the people of America, will finally be united as one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Change must come to our world, or human society will continue to slide down a slippery slope of inequality, hopelessness, and violence. Lasting change cannot happen through violence, insurrection, or revolution. Where the sword is used to establish change, it is by the same sword that it is enforced and can be overthrown. Change must come through peace, patience, and applying humane principles of common sense, respectful of all people. Then, through these same means, change can be enforced, and if necessary, it can be overthrown, but by the same means by which it was established: peace, patience, and applying common sense. Anger and bloodshed have only led to more anger and bloodshed. Protests are the physical imposition of one's personal space onto another's. Peace demands that each person's space, no matter what it contains or where it is occupied, be respected by law. Protests at a location where another person is encroached upon does not accomplish its purpose and becomes counterproductive when the protest is being staged demanding equal rights for all. A new process of demanding change is necessary and required. This process must be one that has no violence, no anger, no disrespect or disparagement of another's space. America is one of the most respected nations on earth. From its establishment and copying its original constitution, other nations have formed peaceful and productive societies. America provides the fertile ground of human diversity, where the seed of real change can be planted, and from which a tree of unprecedented humanity can grow. We realize that as the tree grows, it will produce branches that will bear fruit, some good and some bad. But if the root of the tree is spawned from a sea of goodness from our true humanity, as the good fruit becomes more abundant, the bad fruit can then be removed and discarded. We must have patience and fertilize the tree with intelligence, courage, and undaunted resolve. The tree is the people of the earth and their chosen associations and families, communities, cities, and nations. The seed from which the root grows is our shared humanity, all that is good about being human. The Humanity Party will provide the fertilizer. The new Constitution will provide the power and instruction to those who nurture, prune, and watch over the tree, who remove the bad fruit as the good fruit grows. But people are not comfortable with change. Security lies in schedules and expected functions that always produce the same end: People are comfortable with having an election every 4 years and listening to the popular candidates promise the same things that they did 4 years prior. People become very leery of something that seems too good to be true, and they naturally, emotionally, fight any change that they imagine might affect their current state of security. The United States of America appears to be a peaceful and generally a law-abiding group of people, but that depends on which group of people you ask. There are over 300 million people in the United States. Of that number, there are more than 250 million who are of voting age. Of that number, about 50% actually vote. Many vote because they feel a sense of personal involvement and empowerment in casting their vote, believing that their one vote can make a difference. But an honest poll of those who do vote would reveal that a great majority of them choose the lesser of two evils. Or rather, they don't want any of the candidates, but one appears better than the other, so why waste their vote? We are going to use the power of the vote and the established system to send a message to the government that we want and demand real change. We are going to tell the government what changes to make, leaving it with little excuse for not knowing what to change and how to do it. The majority of the 50% who vote will now have an option other than the proposed same old candidates. But our intentions do not end there. We want all people of legal age who otherwise would not have registered to vote to register and vote. We realize that we will never be accepted by the current government, its laws, rules, and procedures for campaigning for office or establishing a new political party. We don't expect the current government to support something that threatens its power and value. But we do expect to be given our current constitutional right to cast our vote. We want all people everywhere who are of the legal age to register to vote and use the write-in option and write anonymous instead of voting for any of the candidates listed and registered for office. If, by the voice of the people, Anonymous receives more votes than any other candidate, or even if Anonymous receives a relative good showing at the voting booth, the Humanity Party will then legally register as a lawful political party according to current laws and election regulations. We will find and support viable candidates for our party's nomination during the presidential elections of 2020. If you are poor, if you are hopeless, if you are frustrated with our current government, if you feel like you have no voice, you are one of us. Join us today in making a change and having our voices heard for the first time in history. We have the power. Social media provides us the ability to spread our message throughout the world. If a South Korean hipster can shake his body to a catchy tune and get over 3 billion hits on YouTube, then why can't this important video do the same or even more? Share our message on all venues of social media. Get your friends, your relatives, anyone who does not vote and who believes that their vote is useless. Have them go to our website. Find out more about our proposals by reading the Humanity Party's political platform and reading and studying our new constitutional proposals. Our website, voteanonymous2016.com, will provide you with a list of locations where you can go in your particular state to register to vote. We have 1 year to join together and prepare our voices to be heard at voting booths across America. Make your own Vote Anonymous 2016 posters, t-shirts, bumper stickers, signs, and advertise voteanonymous2016.com wherever you go and with whomever you speak. We can do this. If we don't at least try, we have nothing else to complain about or about which to protest. Beware of a great opposition which will rise against us, that will form if we are successful at uniting the people to this great cause. There will be lies published, fear spread, ignorance perpetuated by those who want to fight change. And there will be those who believe that they're patriotic and true Americans who want to protect their Constitution. But do not let the naysayers and opponents of this movement dissuade you from sending a message to our government that we demand change. It is possible that if this movement gains momentum, that the government powers will eliminate the write-in option at the voting booths. If this happens, take a post-it note, write anonymous on it, and leave it in the voting booth. If our message, Vote Anonymous, can spread throughout America, it will inevitably spread throughout the earth. And one day, this world might become one people, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.